Welcome to another enlightening episode. Today, we delve into the fascinating realm of Buddhism and its unique standpoint on the concept of God. Buddhism, one of the world's oldest and most respected traditions, has a rich tapestry that spans across continents, cultures, and centuries. From the misty peaks of the Himalayas to the bustling streets of Tokyo, its teachings have been embraced by millions, each finding solace and wisdom in its profound principles. But amidst all its complexity and depth, there's one topic that often stirs curiosity and debate: the concept of God in Buddhism. Unlike many religions where a supreme being is central to the faith, Buddhism presents a different perspective, one that is often misunderstood or misrepresented. Let's set the stage by saying that Buddhism does not revolve around the worship of a creator God. It's a concept that may seem alien to many, especially in a world where the majority of religions place a divine entity at their core. But in Buddhism, the focus shifts from divine worship to personal enlightenment, from seeking external salvation to understanding the self. However, this doesn't mean that Buddhism is devoid of spiritual entities or beings. Quite the contrary. But we'll get into that in the later part of this video. For now, it's essential to understand that the absence of a creator God doesn't make Buddhism atheistic, as some might hastily conclude. In the next few minutes, we're going to embark on a journey, exploring the intricate doctrines of Buddhism, its philosophies, and the role of deities and spirits within this tradition. We'll also try to answer the often asked question: is Buddhism a philosophy or a religion? If you find this content enlightening and wish to support us, please subscribe to our channel, like this video, and share it with those who might be interested. Your support helps us create more content like this and reach out to more curious minds like yours. So if you're ready to dive deeper into the wisdom of Buddhism and unravel the mystery of its stand on God, stay tuned. Understanding Buddhism's standpoint on God necessitates a basic grasp of its teachings. Let's dive into the essential teachings of Buddhism, the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path. The Four Noble Truths are the fundamental philosophical framework in Buddhism. The first truth is the truth of suffering. It acknowledges that life as it is filled with suffering. This suffering is not only physical pain, but also includes a multitude of mental and emotional distress. The second truth is the truth of the cause of suffering. This truth identifies desire or craving as the root of all suffering. It's the continuous longing for something different, something more, that keeps us in a perpetual state of dissatisfaction. The third truth is the truth of the end of suffering. This truth offers hope. It states that it's possible to end suffering by eliminating desire. And finally, the fourth truth is the truth of the path leading to the end of suffering. This leads us to the Noble Eightfold Path, which serves as a guide to end suffering and achieve a state of inner peace known as nirvana. The Noble Eightfold Path is a practical guideline to ethical and mental development with the goal of freeing individuals from attachments and delusions. It's not about worshiping a deity, but about understanding reality and learning to navigate it wisely and compassionately. The path includes right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. These teachings centralize personal spiritual development and wisdom. They focus on understanding the nature of existence and our place in it. Buddhism doesn't ask for blind faith, but encourages individuals to understand and explore these truths themselves. The goal is not to attain divine blessings, but to attain wisdom and enlightenment through personal experience and introspection. With these teachings, Buddhism offers a unique perspective on life and existence, setting the stage for its viewpoint on God. Let's continue our journey into the intriguing world of Buddhism in the next scene. One of Buddhism's most intriguing aspects is its lack of a creator God. This statement might raise eyebrows, especially among those from faiths with a belief in a singular, omnipotent deity. Yet, it's an integral part of understanding Buddhist philosophy. In many religious traditions, a creator God is seen as the starting point and the ultimate power. Everything that exists, every event that occurs, is believed to be the result of this divine entity's will. However, Buddhism veers away from this perspective. Instead of a creator God, Buddhism emphasizes a cycle of birth, death, and rebirth known as samsara. This cycle isn't controlled by a divine being, but rather by the actions, intentions, and decisions we make in our lives, a concept known as karma. This principle of karma is central to understanding why Buddhism doesn't acknowledge a creator God. Karma infers that our actions, good or bad, have consequences that directly affect our life's course and even subsequent rebirths. It's a kind of moral cause and effect. If we act with kindness, compassion, and wisdom, we'll experience positive outcomes. Conversely, if we act out of greed, hatred, or ignorance, we'll face negative repercussions. In essence, we shape our own destinies in Buddhism. There's no divine puppeteer pulling the strings of our lives. Instead, we're the architects of our own experiences, and the responsibility for our actions rests squarely on our shoulders. This notion can be both liberating and daunting. It tells us that we have the power to change our circumstances, but it also means we can't blame a divine entity for our misfortunes. It's important to note that this lack of a creator God doesn't make Buddhism atheistic. Buddhism is non-theistic, meaning it doesn't deny the existence of gods or deities. However, these beings are seen as part of samsara, subject to the same laws of karma as humans. This belief paints a distinct picture of Buddhism's understanding of life, existence, and the role of a divine entity. It emphasizes personal responsibility and the power of actions, carving a unique path among the world's religious philosophies. While Buddhism doesn't acknowledge a creator God, it does recognize the existence of various deities and spirits. Now, this might seem a bit contradictory at first, but let's delve a bit deeper. In Buddhism, especially within the Mahayana and Vajrayana traditions, there's a rich tapestry of deities and spirits. These entities represent various aspects of the enlightened mind, embodying qualities such as wisdom, compassion, and skillful means. They aren't gods in the typical sense, but rather symbolic expressions of the Buddha's teachings. Take, for instance, Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva of compassion. Avalokiteshvara isn't worshipped as a god, but serves as a reminder of the importance of compassion in the path to enlightenment. Or consider Manjushri, the bodhisattva of wisdom, who symbolizes the enlightenment wisdom that sees the nature of reality directly. But here's the key point. These deities and spirits aren't considered supreme or omnipotent. They are not creators of the universe, nor do they govern the laws of nature. In fact, they are seen as less powerful than a fully enlightened Buddha, and are still subject to the cycle of birth and death, known as samsara. Buddhists believe that these beings, like all sentient beings, are caught in the cycle of samsara until they achieve enlightenment. This perspective is quite different from many other religions where gods are often seen as eternal, omnipotent, and beyond human struggles. So while Buddhists might use imagery and rituals associated with these deities and spirits as part of their practice, it's important to understand that these are not acts of worship. They are tools for understanding and realizing the Buddha's teachings, each deity or spirit serving as a guidepost on the path to enlightenment. Despite recognizing these entities, Buddhists do not see them as omnipotent gods, further highlighting Buddhism's unique stance on God. So, in the end, while Buddhism acknowledges the existence of deities and spirits, it maintains a distinct perspective that sets it apart from theistic religions. It's all part of Buddhism's intricate and fascinating approach to understanding our universe and our place within it. Central to Buddhism is the figure of Buddha. The story of Buddha begins with a prince named Siddhartha Gautama, born into luxury in ancient India. Despite his comfortable life, he was deeply troubled by the suffering he saw around him. So he left his palace and his family, embarking on a spiritual quest to understand the nature of suffering and how to overcome it. Over time, through deep meditation and introspection, Siddhartha achieved a profound understanding, a state of supreme enlightenment known as Bodhi. It's at this moment that he became the Buddha, which means the enlightened one. But who exactly is this Buddha, and what does his enlightenment mean? Buddha isn't a god, a creator, or a divine being to be worshipped. Instead, he's a teacher, a guide who has discovered a path out of suffering and into a state of ultimate wisdom and compassion. He's the embodiment of what Buddhists strive to become, enlightened beings who have understood the true nature of existence and overcome the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Buddhists regard the Buddha with deep respect and reverence, not because he's a god, but because he's a model of what we all have the potential to become. His teachings, known as the Dharma, are not divine commandments, but practical guidelines to help us understand and navigate the complexities of life. They're like a map, showing us the path to enlightenment. Buddha's enlightenment wasn't a divine revelation, but a human achievement. He didn't claim to have any special divine powers or privileged access to truth. Instead, he encouraged his followers to test his teachings for themselves, to question, and to seek their own path to enlightenment. In Buddhism, the Buddha's life serves as a testament to human potential. His enlightenment shows us that it's possible to transcend suffering, to achieve a state of deep understanding and compassion. And his teachings provide a path to help us realize this potential within ourselves. In Buddhism, the Buddha serves as a guide on the path to enlightenment, not a god to be worshipped. His life, his enlightenment, and his teachings offer a beacon of hope, a source of inspiration, and a roadmap to inner peace and wisdom. Given these viewpoints, one might wonder, is Buddhism a philosophy or a religion? The answer isn't as straightforward as you might think. The debate has been ongoing, with different perspectives offering compelling arguments. Some argue that Buddhism can be seen as a philosophy rather than a religion. This perspective stems primarily from Buddhism's focus on personal spiritual development and the absence of a creator god. Buddhism is, at its core, a system of thought, a way to perceive the world around us. It encourages introspection, mindfulness, and a deep understanding of our own minds. It teaches us to question, to seek, and to understand rather than accepting beliefs blindly. This emphasis on personal enlightenment and self-discovery is why many label Buddhism as a philosophy. But on the other hand, there are those who see Buddhism as a religion. They point to the rituals, the temples, the monks, and the nuns. Buddhism, like many religions, offers moral guidelines for its followers. The Eightfold Path, for instance, is a set of principles that guide Buddhists towards ethical and moral living. Moreover, Buddhism has a rich tradition of rituals and practices, such as meditation, chanting, and making offerings to Buddha statues. These practices are not merely philosophical exercises, but spiritual ones, which aim to cultivate virtues like compassion, wisdom, and inner peace. The presence of deities and spirits in some Buddhist traditions also adds to the religious aspect of Buddhism. While these beings are not worshipped as gods, they are revered and respected, similar to saints or angels in other religions. So, is Buddhism a philosophy or a religion? The answer depends on how one chooses to view it. In the end, it might be more accurate to say that Buddhism is both a philosophy and a religion. It's a philosophy in how it urges us to understand the world and ourselves, and it's a religion in how it provides a framework for moral living and spiritual development. Whether seen as a philosophy or a religion, Buddhism undoubtedly offers a unique perspective on life, existence, and the divine. So why don't Buddhists believe in God? Let's recap the key points we've discussed throughout this exploration of Buddhism and its unique stance on the concept of God. Firstly, there is the absence of a creator God. Unlike many other religions, Buddhism does not posit the existence of a divine being who created the universe. The Buddha himself emphasized the law of cause and effect, or karma, as the governing principle of life and existence, rather than attributing everything to a divine creator. Then there's the focus on personal spiritual development. Buddhists are primarily concerned with understanding and transforming their own minds to reach nirvana, a state of perfect peace and happiness. This introspective journey is not guided by a divine entity, but by the teachings of the Buddha and the individual's own efforts to cultivate wisdom and compassion. Next, we have the role of deities and spirits. While Buddhism acknowledges the existence of celestial beings and spirits, These entities are not worshipped as gods. They are seen as beings who, just like humans, are trapped in the cycle of birth and death and are subject to the laws of karma. And let's not forget the figure of Buddha. While revered and respected, Buddha is not worshipped as a god. He is seen as a teacher who achieved enlightenment and shared his wisdom with others, not as a divine being to be worshipped. So to sum it all up, Buddhists don't believe in God, not because they reject spirituality, but because their approach to spirituality is fundamentally different. It's a path that emphasizes personal growth, ethical living, and understanding the nature of reality, rather than devotion to a divine entity. In Buddhism, the focus is not on God, but on the path to enlightenment and the alleviation of suffering. This, in essence, is why Buddhists don't believe in God.